Welcome to another episode of Star 42 with Michael.
And Jace.
And Chris.
Chris, not just Chris. And I love saying this, and the joke's getting old, but I always say, I may be Jewish, but there's one Pope I always pray to, and he's on the call.
There you go.
Uh,
You are welcome. Do I do all that now? Right.
Yes, you do
You're
all that.
absolved of all the crappy coding you ever did. There you go.
oh man, I need that.
Yeah.
There we go. So we have a special guest star here, longtime ServiceNow community member Chris Pope with AutomatePro. Chris, how have you been? We all were acknowledged last week. We're going to get into that, but what's new in life in general? Just how are you doing?
Yeah, life is good, man. I moved into this role probably about 13, 14 months ago now. Now heading up, my fancy title is Chief Customer and Product Officer. What that means is I've got support, delivery, customer success, product, and R&D. So quite a lot, I would say. But it's having been around ServiceNow since 2007, right? Customer number 9 back in the day. There's a lot of the fundamentals are still the same, right? But also a lot has changed. But yeah, no, life is good, man. I moved back from Colorado. Love Colorado, missed Colorado 10 years ago. But family's all grown up, all those fun things, and yeah, life is good.
That's great. Yeah, I remember when you moved back, like 10 years ago. I was like, what? He's leaving? But all right, fine.
Yeah.
So be it.
Customer number
Um,
9. I didn't know you were a customer that long ago.
Yeah. So
yes.
it's funny. One of the fun tricks that I play with the younger audiences that I meet is I sort of say, oh, how old were you in 2007? And I actually met someone at Knowledge last week who was 4. And I was like, okay, not to sort of shame you or anything, but fall 2007 was the first build that I went live on ServiceNow as customer number 9. Fred was our sort of lead developer, for want of a better word. And yeah, and they go, hang on, something existed before Aspen? Oh, yeah. And this is when we used to do 4 releases a year, right?
Yeah.
Kind of crazy, if you will. But it was a much smaller platform, much smaller product set, all those sort of good things were true. So yeah, customer number 9, but employee 509 as well. So
Wow.
yeah, pretty
Wow.
cool.
That's
That
crazy.
is,
That's
you're
the
a
same.
legend.
That's like around the same time I started using ServiceNow, which was
Oh, wow.
2007. Winter
Yeah.
'07 was my first release.
Oh, there you
That
go.
working on ServiceNow. But when ServiceNow was getting rid of the wiki or changing the community up, and I
Oh,
was
gosh,
doing
yeah.
something to like archive something, I noticed that they had a different scheme before they did seasons. Did you know
Yeah,
this? They did months. They had a monthly release.
that's right.
And
Yeah,
that predates
Pretty.
me, but
yeah.
I saw it on the Wayback Machine when I have that stuff. I have a site on sndocs.jace.pro where I kind of archive the
Wow.
old history. But yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I used to think like, kind of what you were talking about, Chris, where when you meet someone young, you're like, what was your first version? I'm like spring of 2010. But
Yeah,
then to hear Jace, what you were just talking about a monthly, is like, wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
old. But
That predates me. I mean, it's not much earlier. I mean, you got to remember, ServiceNow became a company in '04
yeah,
under the
yeah,
name of
Glide
GlideSoft,
Soft.
yeah,
Yes.
right? And it had an icon. It looked kind of like an arrow without a straight line. It was like sort of blocky.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
It
always
was
loved the,
orange, right? So
what's that?
it was orange for a while, the logo as well.
It
Back
was.
in the other claim to fame, and if you ever go, I haven't been. I'm actually going in 3 weeks to the Hudson Yards office in New York. But the office they
Nice
had
building.
before that,
Yeah.
yeah, the office they had before that, there used to be a plaque on the wall, and it's Jonathan Meyer who's still there. He runs FS on the East Coast, and it was the first plaque of the first ever ServiceNow user group in the world. And it's the orange swoosh. It's a bit like a Nike swoosh, I guess. And it had all the names of the presenters, and it had Dave Osman, Deutsche Bank, who was one of the very first customers, and then myself at Lehman Brothers. And it used to be on the wall in the office. I'll see if it's there when I go there in a couple of weeks. But
So
yeah,
when I used to have to go to the New York, the older New York office, I
yeah,
think I've seen that one. I mean,
yeah,
it's gone now, but
yeah. Cubeland, the old office, right?
yes,
Pretty nasty.
yeah, it was. But
So,
That being said, talking about changes, though, this is a great segue into knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of crazy announcements with knowledge. Otto was one, which I keep thinking of Airplane and the autopilot named Otto. That should be the mascot, but I don't think they'll do
Yeah.
that. But really, Chris, what was your take on knowledge, especially as someone who's been on it since
Yeah.
2007?
Someone did work it out. I think it's 19 knowledges I've been to now,
Nice.
which is kind of crazy, right? When you think about it. The first one was 38 people. And Fred hand wrote your name on like a poster.
What year was that? I may have a tracker that I kind of try to keep
Yeah, I
up
think
to
it's
date with.
06 or 07. I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay. All right.
But I think there was a year that got skipped as well, somewhere in there because of, and then there was the one on the island in San Diego where it just hammered down with rain for like 4 days. The whole thing flooded. It was absolutely crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, so I think, it always gets bigger, right? It always gets more razzmatazz and, and all those good things. And I think it's interesting for us because we are a build partner, right? AutomatePro has built its entire solution on ServiceNow. So without it, our product doesn't work essentially, right? Is another way to think about it. So, which has huge advantages, but also has, I wouldn't say disadvantages, but just caveats, right? And Jace, you developed on the platform for a while as well, and you know what some of those are. So certain technology choices I don't get to make, which that's okay, But on the flip side, that is okay because then I don't have to worry about them, right? Which is another side of it. I can really focus on solving the problem we do and not worrying about is it Angular or Light.js or some other thing I don't really understand, but just magic works. So I think for us, all the big announcements, they're all sort of they're all good, they're all interesting. But I was actually just talking to someone earlier, and actually a lot of the challenges you have now around platform fundamentals, getting the absolute basics right, free up everything else, right? So if you look at sort of your leading and your lagging indicators, if you will, or the products you've purchased and you just got a stuck backlog, or it feels endless that you never get through it, or upgrades are still tricky, whatever. A lot of the conversations we have at Knowledge this year were around how do we fix the platform fundamentals? My hero in the story is the platform owner, right? Solely, it's not the CIO, it's not the CTO. They're cool people and they sign nice checks and things, right? But actually, how do I make the platform owner successful so they've got that room to breathe and go, you know what? We did buy that product, or we're going to buy that product. That's okay. It'll fit into our cycle. It won't disrupt our cycle. So how do I do better upgrades, faster upgrades, more frequent releases of higher quality and higher automation as well? So I can do all those cool new things that we see on the main stage from Bill and Amit and all those guys, right? I think the audience has changed somewhat. It was a very IT audience for a very long time, right?
Yeah, very technical.
Yeah, and that's okay, and I think where some have struggled previously is who they're addressing to, right? In a lot of the early years, and maybe up until 3-4 years ago, a non-technical message just didn't land because platform owners, developers, creator con, those things, the Chuck Tomasi era, as I like to call it, people love that stuff. Seeing Fred code live on stage and break things,
And he did, literally.
No, he did, right? I remember the BlackBerry use case, right? So I think the way it's elevated as an organization to be that more sort of marketing, showy driven as an event, and that's okay because that's where it fits in the ecosystem, if you will. That works for a lot of people, but then that's why the labs are so popular. That's why the sort of hands-on sessions are so popular, because it's great, but let me touch it, let me feel it, because then I can figure out what it actually does under the covers.
Good point. Yeah. I've seen with a lot of customers, they want to get hands-on more so, almost kind of like there's a dichotomy of like, yeah, as much cooler as the marketing and showmanship has gotten, it's driven people to more to be like, no, but I really want to dive into it as well.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting because I know Auto, for example, I don't know. I know generally it's a different architecture. It's built outside the core.
It's MoveWorks.
Yeah.
It's more than that.
I mean, according
really
to
is.
the marketing pages, it's MoveWorks.
It's more than that though. Like
Sure, it's
there's
MoveWorks with sparkles.
well, so one of the things you may notice, like with Australia, is there's a new like SQL connector thing as well, to SQL query the database. I don't think that was built. How do I put it this delicately? It was not created for the sole purpose of SQL. Let me put it that way. It was created for another purpose that, oh, also we could double it as this.
Yeah.
And so, one of the changes I think from the platform perspective of what I'm seeing is we're starting to now move away from the Fred Luddy core code base, which is kind of sad because, that was Fred's baby. It's what we all know and love. But on the same token, technology is moving so fast
Yeah.
that, look, the Workspace is UI engine number 3, and it takes years to rebuild that stuff into the core platform. And unfortunately we just don't have that capability, that time now from
Yeah,
a general market
it's an
perspective.
interesting UI is an interesting concept because I'm really fortunate. I sit on the board of directors of the user group, right? So we get airtime with Bill, with Amit, John Asian, Joe Davis, all those folks every year at Knowledge, and then we have work streams that run throughout the year, and we meet monthly at minimum. And I never forget a couple of months ago where Amit sort of said to us, look, we are going to have 4 UXs for a period of time. We just are kind of, get over it, right? And the history of ServiceNow's acquisitions have always been to re-platform and put them in the core. Not anymore, right? Because they're technically probably more complex, maybe more complete because they're buying bigger things that are more mature. And the cost benefit, I guess, and technical analysis of it doesn't necessarily warrant re-engineering to that level, right? And then the API era and cloud to cloud and all that agentic stuff, leave it where it is, make it work, right? There you go. There's our friend Otto.
ServiceNow Auto, this is
There he
it.
is, coming to a main stage near you, right? But I think
Exactly.
that's the point, right? And maybe that's your point around the SQL thing as well, right? Is how do we make them all work better together for a better outcome, and sort of not to not what's the word, make the technology less important, but kind of make it less important, right? And really focus on that outcome, that experience, or whatever it may be, because customers are going to have multiple cloud products, and the way they work together is really the magic.
Right.
In my opinion, as long as it stays kind of one true platform, meaning, I was working on this other software, and every time I was trying to say, oh, I got to go do this with like the knowledge base, it opened up a whole new tab that you knew was a whole new
Yeah,
product.
yeah,
And you're like, okay, as long as we don't get to that level,
yeah.
I'm okay. Just
Yeah, I mean,
have
there are
everything in one
others who've
spot.
got nine clouds, right? Because of through acquisition, that's what they've done, and one on-prem, right? So it's a 9+1 model, and the experience is pretty poor, right? And if you're a sort of that classic, not an occasional user, but a user who, as a leader, a manager, a prover, an employee of this, you've got to traverse multiple solutions. Um, that experience becomes more and more important, and maybe that's the answer of Otto, right? That it just makes that go away, right? It's that layer over the top and all the magic and the sprinkles. Less sparkles, Jace, more sprinkles. It is America after all, you
All
know.
right.
But
Maybe that's what it. Maybe that's part of the value prop. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think they're gonna get rid
uh,
of I don't think they get rid of more UXs. I would love them to personally. ServiceNow is ripe to
Yeah.
cut some things. Like, why do we have 4 form builders?
because
And
Someone
no,
needs to
no, no,
kill
it's
UI
it's
Builder. If ever there was a use case for AI and MCP and all that other magic, UI Builder is that answer.
no
Like,
one likes UI Builder. No one. I'm
do you
still a champion of it.
do you
Yes, it's
know do you know
complex
why?
go
because it's
on.
complex.
Because it's so complicated that no one in the right mind, not even AI, can build on it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that
it
being
looks
said,
pretty. It looks pretty. I give you
Yeah.
that.
it was trying to achieve what the portal designer was trying to do. It
Yeah.
just I think that kind of flexibility of like a UI building tool is just can be so complex if you try to make things modular and more plug and play versus hard coded like the widgets and service portal. It's a very difficult solution to find for it. But
In making
the
it
other big,
simple, you've made it harder, right?
I didn't see much because I was busy just talking to everybody and having things
Picking up
happen around me.
awards, just
picking up
making
awards,
speeches.
hanging out with Bill
Make,
McDermott,
yeah, we
I
get
mean,
it.
there's a whole story behind that. That's a lot of fun to tell. But I didn't see much. But I did see this. I saw the Slate UI. Did you guys
Yes.
hear or see
That
about this?
Otto. Hello, Otto.
No,
Yeah.
that's
So
different. Isn't
so
that
we
different?
we've secret
I'm not
source
gonna say
stuff.
anything else. I can't say anything else.
We we've been
It's
invited in. Let's put it that way.
I haven't.
We are Jace. Come and work for us.
well, Jace. Why don't you go email your friend Bill McDermott
There you go.
and
For me to get up there, I had to like pull strings and message people and like
Change your
try to get
clothes,
by
polish your
security and
shoes.
stuff. It was a whole ordeal.
you know what I really love about this picture is I'm like, oh my God, there's a massive legend. Oh, and there's Bill.
Yeah, exactly. Who's the dude with the cap? Right. Who's he? Anyway, but no, it's interesting because we, as a build-on partner, we're on our journey right into workspaces. We have to be right and doing all those things. And then we met with the right product people around a couple of different things, and we've been invited in as one of the first build partners to move to the new Slate experience and dynamic pages and all that sort of stuff. So for me, it's almost a generational leap of partnering in the sense of they want to invite us in to help do those things. But that stuff historically has been reserved for the bigger, more strategic customers. And there's a couple of those in that program as well. But the fact that, here we are as a build partner and we've been invited in to basically transform our app into the next generation experience, I kind of bit the hands off in a heartbeat to do that. So it's going to be interesting. See, because a lot of our app sits in UI 16 today, like many do, right? That's okay. Workspaces are, I think someone said less than 20% adoption across the board, and they're all different, right? Collaborative work management, which I love, is completely different to the other one half my team use, which is Service Ops Workspace. They just work differently, right? They're configured differently, they're managed differently. So anything that helps ease that platform burden, I was saying earlier, in the fundamentals of just making the platform work consistently and cohesively and de-risking releases, it's got to be a good thing.
Yep.
Right? Can't argue that. But the other announcement that I caught on, besides Otto, was Arc. Did anyone pick up on the significance of Project Arc?
I wasn't really listening. Please tell me what ARC is.
So we've got to go back. You remember at one of our podcasts, I was saying, hey, I went to NVIDIA GT. First I said, hey, there's the era of inference, right? And then Jensen Huang comes up and says, hey, inference is the new thing, And it's like, oh man, I was right. And then they talked about how NVIDIA was coming out with NemoClaw, which was their like wrapper around OpenClaw, which is running everything locally, more secure, whatever. And then on that announcement with NemoClaw, we were listed as a partner. Project Arc, from what I've read and all the reading between the lines, is that iteration of our partnership with the NemoClaw piece. So now we're talking about taking enterprise workflow and bringing that into the more personal laptop, local AI portion of it to combine with what's going on in the cloud as well. And to me, that's the most exciting thing. Because my big kind of viewpoint is, look, when it comes to AI and resources, those GPU chips are used under two use cases: creating models and running inferences. And the inference running is you can run on laptops with a good enough GPU and such, and that's going to be, to me, the big next big shift. And I'm excited we're moving in that direction. I don't know if you can tell, but it'll be interesting to see how that comes out.
So I just want to repeat back. You're saying Project Arc is effectively open cloud and ServiceNow.
I'm not going to say exactly what I'm going to say. What I think it is, reading between the lines, is yes, it's a NemoClaw NVIDIA partnership, OpenClaw local type of thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but that sounds like a very interesting part.
And I could be totally wrong, by the way, because I'm not in product. I got to have that disclaimer. Let it be known.
You need to say something quick.
Yeah. No, this is me
Personal
asking
opinion.
a question to a friend who does not work for ServiceNow or does and doesn't know.
Yes, exactly. I may or may not know.
It's really interesting because we built a product a while ago, actually, that would have required sort of, at an enterprise level for people to use locally, right, for packaging. And it was kind of a, sort of dubbed as click and create, screen recorder, capture all the information, a bit like an RPA type agent recorder, so that you recorded a process that a user went through, and from that you auto-generate tests, documentation, whatever. I spoke to a couple of our big banking customers and I said, okay, we got this thing, runs on Windows. How do you get that packaged? How do you get that managed? Remotely, it's got to be published on Citrix and all these things. And he's like, don't even bother. I am not wasting 8 months of my life for that. Right. So it starts to ask other questions like locally, when you've got like an MPU chip locally and things like that, and you take that offload, the workload locally, and you can do lots of cool things. But what else does that mean? Right. And it's funny, I was talking to someone the other day about this, in the world of a sort of ServiceNow and scoped apps and things, the example of what happened with CrowdStrike, would never happen in the Apple world because it's completely ring-fenced from the core. You can't get to it, right? And that's a bit like being a scoped app or a built-on app. You can't get to the core to do certain things. So you can't break a lot of stuff, right? Whereas you go the other way, you can. So where's the line of what all this amazing horsepower and local stuff sits, but what's its connection back into the core? What can it truly do locally versus having to talk to the core, right? And I'm sure some CISOs and others with GDPR and data, and now that there's a lot more non-IT data on platforms, can it go local? Can it not? Some very clever people will work that stuff out, but we all say in the modern world of security and risk and these things, the biggest link in the chain or the weakest link in the chain is the human employee. Tricky one.
Well, I think that's where Nemo Claw comes into play, because it's supposed to be more of a secure wrapper with it, from everything I've read. So to your point,
but only as secure as the employee's machine, and only as secure as the employee makes it.
Yeah.
So we start getting rid of employees.
Yeah, don't even joke about that.
Should we move on to another topic?
Of course. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a tough one. Jace, you got to give us a little bit of 411 here. Tell us what it was like being Michael Lombardo winner. And I've known you since 2011. You've always been a huge community supporter and doing a lot of great stuff. You got the Knowledge shirt on. So for those who don't know Jace, you should know Jace. That's all I'm going to say about it. But walk us through what happened here.
What happened here? So, I recognized that, a couple years ago they had Michael Lombardo on the screen, right?
And I love Michael.
Man, he was great. I do occasionally think, like sometimes when I get up in the morning, like, man, I have 5 years up on him. What have I done? And he never got the chance to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Good point.
So I do occasionally think like that, and it kind of whatever. It's whatever. But the day before the keynote that I was brought up on stage, I got a text from Nathan Firth. Hey, Nick T wants to talk to you backstage, and I didn't think really much of it, other than like, okay, because I've had interactions with and direct messages with Nick T on LinkedIn. I'm saying Nick T because I can never say his last name correctly.
Sitson. Yeah. Sounds like a breed of a foreign dog or something. Sitson.
Okay. Well, he invited me to go and talk backstage with him because I guess Nick had some questions for me. He said, meet me at Starbucks at 8:45.
I would have been immediately freaking out. Like, am I in trouble? Am I getting a lawsuit? What's happening?
Well, the day before I was thinking, I should have something like ready to say. But then, like, life happened. I just didn't get to thinking about it. So, whatever. I show up at 8:45. We go to the back area, the doors. Security's like, oh, you guys don't have the wristband. You got to wait for whomever.
Yeah.
Like, 3 minutes before the keynote starts, his assistant comes out to come grab us and then brings me back to the back room. And they have us sitting. She tells us, have a water, get, a snack. It'll be a minute or two. And I go in there and man, I feel like such an idiot. I didn't know you know all those faces they have of those like people representing like Patty, IT Wizard, and all that stuff. I thought they were all AI generated. So when I got back, I'm like, what the
Awesome.
heck? What's going on here? But eventually, a few moments later, I'm behind backstage talking to Nick, and he's like, "Hey, did you go out to be a social media superstar?" And I'm like, "No, I just wanted to make stuff and share it that I thought was important."
Yep.
And he turns around and goes on stage. All right. So I'm like, all right, I guess he has more questions, maybe. His assistant points us back to that room, so we hang out there for a bit, and then a few minutes later, they have us go back to these chairs. I'm still thinking, like, whatever. Like, I'm just waiting to talk to this guy. It's way more important than me.
Yeah.
And then the stage people, they're like, "Oh, give me your badge." And then they direct me up the stairs. I'm like, "What?" And yeah, going on. Like, what? I had no idea for what still, because I didn't know it was a recurring event, like a recurring award.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I got on stage, I was confused, but I was rolling with it. You know, you guys saw it. I'm like, wait, what? I won the award? Yeah, you won the award. Look at the camera. So that was the whole shenanigans.
That's
there.
epic. That's such. Do you know what? The innocence of that story is what makes it so powerful. That you're doing it for the right reasons, not for any other grandstanding or showing us. It's just me doing my thing, trying to make
he wanted
make
a
the world a bit
conversation.
of a better place. And
He had questions. I'm like, sure, I'll talk to him. What have I got to lose?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I don't work for ServiceNow. It isn't like he's in my chain of command, and then like I could do anything. You know what I mean? I'm not like trying to like point fingers or whatever. Just yeah.
Well done, man.
Then he invited me to come to the Sphere, make sure I got there, and I messaged him when I messaged him after I saw him and Bill in a suite below me in the middle of the thing. Like, hey, I see you. Can I come by your suite? Eventually, that turned into me coming by their suite and meeting Bill and getting that picture up a little ago.
That is so lucky that Bill got to meet you. Like, he really is lucky.
I think it's the other way around, but I think we're all lucky.
No, Bill's lucky.
Yeah, I'll fall on the sword on that one too. I think the big thing with knowledge in the ServiceNow community is it's the people within it. The product's the product, right? Bill's gonna, from his SAP days and running up and down, Manhattan carrying Xerox copiers and whatnot. Bill's a machine, right? That's what he does, right? He builds things and he builds juggernauts, right? The scale, but none of it comes alive without the people, right? And whether they work for ServiceNow or not, that's fine. But there's always been the community around it, and whether that's been, whether the Chuck era, Nathan. If you sort of go through sort of not time, but rewind it, maybe this is for the Wayback Machine. There's those big voices that are out there in the community, and they're not trying to be big voices for the sake of it, like like an influencer, if you will. You're doing it for the good of all to try to make things a bit better. That's huge. That's absolutely massive, right?
And that's been the most innocent thing about you, Jace, as well, is the fact that
I think he's going to cry.
Well, no, it's like me or Jace. I may cry, who knows? But also it's like when we started this podcast, we were like, okay, we're not in it really for the money. I mean, if it takes off, that's great. But like everything you've done has been for, well, I think there's this great thing that the community could use, and I'm going to put the time and energy into it. Like knowledge, for example. I mean,
I am a proponent.
You hope it takes off, but you're not going to, you don't do it because you want to be like a millionaire, is what I'm saying.
I make the things that I want to exist because they don't exist.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. We live in a very special time on this planet where we can think of a thing and make it happen.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. Like it's true now.
20 years ago, my dad, if he had to gather 1,500 people, it would take a lot longer. Like he was a social butterfly like I am now, but he was a truck driver, right? Like, how is he going to reach 1,500 people? He's got to make 1,500 phone calls or...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or talk to people at every restaurant he goes to. Like, a much slower way of, mailing them. Now I can just put a LinkedIn post out there and be like, hey, I have this virtual event. And here's the purpose.
He's the original influencer, right? That's how it was done, right? It's just technology has made it easier to do those things on a wider scale. Right.
Right.
But also...
Again, back to what we said earlier, doing the basics. people, communication, fundamentals.
Right.
Also,
Right.
don't downplay the fact that doing that stuff takes a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Maintaining it takes a lot of work. Making new
yeah,
things
that
is
too.
way more fun.
Trust me, I try to
Right.
be involved in the community and such, and like so many times I feel totally burnt out. Like my
Yeah.
experience of knowledge was one where the first knowledge year I was going around, and first of all, you got to remember I was working it, so I was on my feet, back was hurting, and all that stuff, and I was kind of going around just like a little sad, like I just remember earlier knowledges where yes, it was a little simpler, but it felt more exciting to me personally. And now I look
Yeah.
around and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, and I love being around the people and connecting with you, Jace and
Yeah.
Chris and whatever. But like I was sitting there to go to the Sphere and I saw the long line. And I'm like, well, it's Backstreet Boys. And I grabbed a beer sitting on the chair. I was like, you know what? I'm going to my room. I'm going to go lay
Yeah.
in bed.
Yeah.
And
What?
like it
You
was
missed
very much.
out.
I was on a
I don't think
plane
I
at
did.
10 o'clock. I was out of there.
I don't blame
I
you at all,
mean,
Chris. You have a much longer flight.
well,
It's
not only
true.
that, but like as I've gotten older, I've also realized being around a lot of crowds drains a lot of me.
Yeah.
Like I love
Social
talking
battery.
ServiceNow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So
yeah.
I keep telling people, and I told my manager this, I was like, you know what? I'm not doing knowledge next year. Like
Yeah.
slap me if I mention it.
Yeah.
I'll
No,
remind you
likewise.
as we get closer.
I mean, think of us, right?
I
We
almost
pay,
didn't go this year.
yeah,
That would have been
we
a
pay a
good.
Imagine how
truckload of
that would
money,
have happened.
right, to sponsor. And, when the expo opens to when the expo closes, that first customer to the last one, it's got to be the best engagement they have all day. So
Yeah.
we're on our feet all day long.
Yes.
And that first interaction to the last one, as I said, they're all crucial because that could be the one for us. And it's happened in previous years where I think it was last year towards the end of the first or second day, and the global head of procurement for a large pharmaceutical came by the booth and he said, finally, I found you guys. I've been hoping to get hold of you all day. Our team tell us this is the thing to do. We totally love it. How do we talk on Monday and get something signed? Done. Knowledge
Right.
covered. Sign me up, right? So and they're the moments that are like, you as tired and as emotionally trained you are, they're the ones that make you go, you know what, this might happen again tomorrow. This could be cool,
Right.
and off you go again, right? And it is, and for us, it's, there are sort of big pipeline event of the year, right? For a small partner like us, we have to make it work, right? And it's hard work, and the fun stuff is the fun stuff, right? And that's always there. But ultimately, you kind of have to remember what you're there to do because you've got 20 odd thousand or so potential customers. And, if you get 10 out of it, 100 out of it, which would be nice, that makes it for you.
Right. You
It's
got to
very
have those
true.
incentives to reinforce why you're there. So
Yeah.
when you get exhausted going the knowledge, Mike, if you had incentives that you had that happened while you were there, you'd probably be way more inclined to come back.
No,
Do you
that's true.
remember?
I won't argue that. But
Remember?
you know what?
Oh,
What's that? Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just also feel like for me in my life, I'm just starting to get to the point where and trust me, I love talking service now and talking to people. And I think if they said, hey, we want you to go, all we want to have you do are maybe like meetings, not schlepping around on the floor or whatever,
Yeah.
like maybe I'd rethink that. But it's a lot. And I think, Chris, to your point of everything, it's a far different experience if you're working it either as a partner or myself,
Yeah.
working
And an
versus a
attendee.
participant.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an attendee.
I've
Yeah.
never
And
been as anything but a customer.
Oh, wow.
yeah, see, my only knowledge that I went to as an attendee was Knowledge 12. And I hate to say this, it ruined me because that was probably, in
New
my mind, the
Orleans.
best knowledge. It was
Yeah, New
Orleans,
Orleans.
right?
pre-IPO. New Orleans, yeah. Fred
Yeah.
Luddy on Bourbon Street. I mean, 3,000 people total. It was a different event.
Fruition
So-
everywhere.
Fruition
So I'm
everywhere,
going to
yeah.
put it out there now, Jace, right? As long as we don't fall out and we're still working together next year, you can be a guest on our booth.
Oh,
How's
well.
that? We'll put it out there,
There
guys.
you go.
If our CMO's listening, thanks, Jess. Love you to
Honestly,
bits.
that's probably one of the best gigs you could pull Jace into because
What's
he's
that?
so smart. He knows so much. Everyone knows him. When I was hanging out with him, like 10 people came up to be like, Jace. And I'm thinking like, I did gamification. No one
Yeah.
remembers me.
Well, I mean, you have to remind people sort of what you did.
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing, but the other thing too is like I am kind of like this Gen X Zennial one, where part of me is like I don't want to be known either. Like I want to be
Yeah.
very quiet. I don't want
Yeah.
to. It's
I gave up on
that's
not
not.
wanting to be known a long time ago. It's a lot
Very
easier.
good.
There's so many more doors that open when people know about you ahead of time.
Yeah.
I've been given
True.
jobs because there's like, oh, you're Jace. Yeah. You don't
Yeah.
have to really
Oh,
interview. I mean, you have the interview still, technically. But
Yeah.
like, it's like,
yeah.
oh,
Kind of a done deal. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
I'm sure I've let some people down because they thought I'm more than I was. And I'm sure I've brought expectations
never.
up of other people. But at the same time, I'm just a person, just like Fred Luddy is just a person. When I meet
Yep.
those important people, like Nick, how do you say it? Sitson?
Sitson. Yeah.
And he's like Nick Sitson. I just remind myself, yeah. Well, when he wakes up in the morning, he puts on one pant leg and then the other, just like I do, right?
You can put on
But
both
does
at
he go?
once.
But more importantly, does he
Maybe,
go?
but
Does he
that's
go
still
sock,
that
sock,
difference.
shoe, shoe, or does he go sock, shoe, sock, shoe?
I,
You know,
these are
important
questions
question.
I refuse to ask. But
Do
in any
socks first, then
case,
shoes.
we all
Yeah.
we all do the basic things when we get up. We get dressed and we
Exactly.
go on.
There you go.
Let me put it this way:
All
I'm
good.
known enough that most places, if I like, had to go place, I'd get some good opportunities. But that being said, I am not a Jace because I don't feel I'm very uncomfortable putting myself out there a whole lot.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
A
If I
lot of
did more
emotional
so, maybe I
energy.
would.
I mean, I literally posted like the day before, like arriving, like, "Hey, if you see me, make sure to say hello." I had so many people just say hello to me that I don't know if they would have otherwise,
I think I
and
posted anything in knowledge.
that makes me so happy because some people are so shy. When I was
Yeah.
in, what grade was it? Sixth grade, I was very shy. I didn't talk to anybody. I had a friend bust me out of that shy bubble. And I'm so very grateful. But like, if I hadn't met that friend, I would be a very different person.
No,
There you go.
that's some good insight
Right,
into
bring us
James.
back,
That's
Michael, because we're down
Yeah,
in.
I need to
Yeah.
before we get running out of any more time though, we do want Chris, we've got to know Automate Pro. I do not know much about like the build partner side of the partner
Yeah.
world. So you've got
Yeah.
to tell us more about what you're doing in that organization, what it's like being a partner on the
Yeah.
build side, because obviously you're not doing implementation, so it's a different world. So you got to tell
Yeah,
us more
it
about
is.
this.
It is. So, at a very high level, if you think about, it's probably not that high level actually, right? Jace as a developer, right? That's a good example. All the things around SDLC, DevOps, yes, you can code, you can build, you can do all those fun things on the platforms. But, to do that at scale with velocity, with quality and automated releases, and then test these things, document these things. So maybe if you're a farmer, you pass your GXP audit or SOX for financial services. We automate all of those things on the platform, right? And what we've done is make it part of the developer's flow of work. So, in a sprint, you get a story, you go do something cool, and you have an update set. And then you generally put that somewhere, save it somewhere, someone does something with it, and you release, and you go to the mythical, magical change advisory board for approval, right? And away you go.
Rubber
So
stamp.
what we've done, yeah, we've all been that manager, right? The team of no. But so what we've done at the story level, you can now attach all your runbook essentially, right? This is the update set. This is the data, install a plugin, change the scope, elevate privileges, whatever, do a BPE scan, right, from Bravium, build my test, capture the evidence that proves my test works and from an audit standpoint. And if all the lights are green, promote that code through the pipeline. Why do you need a human involved, right? If all those checks and balances and fundamentals are in play. So AutomatePro has done that for quite some time now. And some of our larger customers are doing, 5-10 automated releases a day through that model, and running up to 5,000 automated tests a night. So it's that sort of come in the morning and they've run a full regression suite across any number of apps, custom apps as well. And it's a little bit like that. You remember back in the day, you had that CMDB dashboard with bond trading on, and was it red, amber, green? Think of that for your business processes. Is onboarding working? Are CIs populating, for want of a better word, from Azure with our provisioning workflows? Is SSO even working? You usually know when it's not because no one can log in, right? So think about, that end-to-end cycle from a DevOps SPLC quality standpoint. That's exactly what we do on the platform. And the built-on piece is really interesting because as essentially a scoped app on the platform, we sit alongside absolutely everything else. So out-of-the-box products, other partner products, etc., which means dot walking, connecting to tables, all those things. It's all native. And because it's in that container, for want of a better word, security permissions, they're all honored, they're all captured, but also they're all available. So it's easy for us to move around the platform, if you will, to do certain activities from, say, SPM into testing and into change for approval and so on. So we do all of those things, which is pretty cool. Knowledge is obviously a massive pipeline event for us. But I think, if you were sort of to go the who's who in the zoo from a logo standpoint, you've got the PayPals, the Starbucks, the Goldmans, the Lloyds, the Barclays, the Nestle's, the BCA's. It's kind of an unfair list of customers, for want of a better word, in the sense of the size of the organization. But that then says you've got product market fit and we really solve a problem.
Yep.
And if you look at sort of, that built on partnership, we get quite probably maybe overly excited when new stuff comes out that's not just embedded in a single product like in ITSM. Or remember back in the day, CSM launched Advanced Work Assignment, but it wasn't available in ITSM. And you're like,
Yeah.
the dumbest thing ever, because every case or every ticket or ever whatever it is has to route somewhere. Why only put it in one product? It should be a core platform feature everybody takes advantage of, right? And those things over time are obviously getting better and better. So for us, it's being able to, we have a design principle being ServiceNow first. If there's something out of the box we can leverage, we absolutely must. Not just because of technical debt and those things, but it's where the customer already is. So why build something competing? There's no point. So take advantage of it. If they're in Now Assist, use Now Assist. If they're in a portal, use portal, right? Whatever it may be. We used to have, it's quite interesting, that screenshot you've got there. We used to have our own custom dashboards, but you couldn't change them. You couldn't do anything with them. Now they're all PAR, right? Platform analytics out of the box. Clone it, duplicate it, do what the heck you like with it, right? Based on your process and where you already are. So it's really exciting in that sense, in terms of where we can go and what we can do. And some of the newer stuff that we're working on, which I can't actually tell you about at the moment, all the AI stuff, we're natively part of Now Assist, where you can prompt and build a test, right?
Really?
Where is Now Assist often published? In Teams, right? So if I just follow that route that ServiceNow is naturally taking, I show up for minimum dev effort, right? I don't need to go and do all that stuff myself. So it's really interesting in that sense. And then there are times where you do find a gap, right? And you kind of go, right, what's the right decision here? Do we wait? Do we partner? Or do we really feel it's a significant enough a gap that we can do something clever with this? We talk about moats, right, that sort of surround our castle and protect us. And our library is one of those moats. So every month it updates with new checks and actions based on whatever the current release or patch is. But if you take Australia as a great example, RTP came out early February, I think it was, and there are a bunch of changes with ACLs, DOM structures, shadow routes, all weird and wonderful stuff that Jay probably gets excited about. Testing that stuff is really hard. And if you look at the release notes, it's 941 pages. Substantial, right? So we
bigger than most books.
Yeah, we ingest all of that, right? And then we run a full regression suite of everything we've got against Australia, see what breaks. Then we go in, find the delta, fix all those checks and actions. And actually, by the end of February, we knew that if you'd built any tests with our library and upgraded to Australia, none of them broke. So when you're off platform, like a Selenium or using Playwright and these other things are all exciting, you're not aware of those changes. You're only aware of them when everything breaks. And we've got customers that say every release they rewrite or update 80% of their automated tests because they break. We don't have that problem because we sit in the core as a scoped app, right? So there's some real interesting things that you think about, like, for every dollar I can spend in R&D and product, would I spend it differently than taking advantage of something that, I've got, a decent number of developers. ServiceNow's got 9,500. I'm never going to compete. Why
No.
would I compete? I'd be dumb to, right? So for us, that program is really interesting. And there are times where we overlap. ServiceNow's got core platform capabilities that compete to some extent, but they have an unfair advantage as well. So if you look at things like ATF, which we bump into all the time, it can do things server-side. I'm just not allowed to do for right reasons, right? It's that CloudStrike example again. I'm not allowed in the core, right? It can do server-side stuff I can't. That's okay. So you sort of think about that and say, well, if we document that and describe that well, but actually position a better together story, the customer wins. It's not about me versus them or them versus, it's actually, this goes to this point and stops. But this is where we pick it up and carry on. And the customer goes, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. Right. So there's a great marketing book called You Ask, We Answer that talks about being really open and honest about what you do is as important as what you don't do. And then people can make a choice. Right. And that false promise of, yeah, we can do that, and being the yes person. Right. Actually, no, we don't do that. Right. But they see value in time, in the honesty and the trust that you provide, that they come back and say, yeah, no, you guys are right. That's exactly what we should be doing. And let's go on that journey together. So it's, it's exciting, and all the updates and all the plugins that are endlessly updating and things like that.
Endlessly, yeah.
It's a lot, right? But if we're sort of not struggling, but we try to keep up with it as best we can. And that's our day job. That's all we really do. Customers, it must be hell on earth at the moment, right? Trying to keep up with endless updates. And the AI stuff moves so damn fast, because it does. And
they're doing updates like every month now for AI.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad, right? And some of the stuff that has come out recently, like Conversation Evaluator and other bits and pieces, are phenomenal. I think the Control Tower and I always get it wrong. It's the AI Workspace or whatever it's called, the studio, is possibly the best product ServiceNow's launched in 3 years from an experience standpoint and completeness. And it's a bit like your point earlier about MoveWorks being kind of off platform. I know it's not, but it feels a bit that way because it just works differently, but better.
Yes, it does.
And it's got no legacy, right? That's also a massive advantage, right? So it's really interesting, but we go back to customers all the time. I was just in a workshop yesterday morning with your largest customer, let's put it that way. And the fundamental question in the room was, how do we get stories through the pipeline faster with higher quality and reduce our gap between releases? Because they do that classic Thursday night, everyone get on a call. Jace, what's your update set? What's your run book? What all do I do? Oh, I ran the preview and it didn't work, blah, blah, blah. Right? We've got to fix that problem, and we've done it, right? We have fixed that problem. And even internally, we've got, a master, for want of a better word, or hub and spoke model that we push from, the hub to 52 instances internally when our updates change or a developer does something here, there, or other. So we figured that out, productized it, and take it out to our customers now and say, look, there's a better way, because these big customers have got a lot of instances they're trying to manage and sync and clone and blah blah blah. We solve that problem for them. So it's hugely exciting because we give back to the platform team, who I said earlier is my hero in the story. And if you look at it, Michael, from ServiceNow side, right, you go and sell a customer, I don't know, 20 products, right? After 2 years, 3 years, they've adopted 60, 70% of them. And it's not that they don't want to adopt the less, they just haven't got the cycles. So you
move faster.
What frees up the roadmap, what frees up capacity and sort of thought, for want of a better word, well, automated testing, documentation, release, and higher quality. Less defects in productions, no war rooms, P1 bridges and all that good stuff. And the other thing, and we did this previously, was taking your upgrades down from 12 weeks to 1.
That's what I want to know. Like, what's the average reduction in time from upgrades?
Yeah, so we generally see at least a 60% reduction in time in upgrades. Some are a bit slower, purely just because of let's say, paperwork. If you're GXP regulated, you got a lot of hoops you got to jump through that just time doesn't help you, right? Like,
Yeah.
bringing a drug to market, drug trials just take a long time. They do, right? Upgrades don't take that long, thank goodness. But we've got customers that have shrunk that cycle from 3 to 4 months down to one. And even if at one, that's an enormous amount of capacity freed up. We've got others that are breakneck. They literally go in 2 or 3 days, which is huge for us. And because we release content packs for all the out-of-the-box products, we've got 6 at the moment. That's the full regression suite up, ready to go. Push a button and it runs, which makes life a lot easier for people because, is testing sexy and fun? Not really. So automate it. In this day and age, it should just be automated along with the documentation and the compliance checks, right? And that's what our most successful customers done. And what it's meant is they step back a bit and say, right, now let's look at our stories. Let's look at our sprint planning and the quality there. And actually, it isn't the issue that Michael's our release manager and he's got too much work to do. That's part of it. But actually, Jace is generating work. How do we make the developer more productive, but solve more things at source? Like if Jace writes something and he runs an automated test and it fails, create a defect and send it back to him. Don't wait until it gets to Michael, right? Keep it in the cycle earlier,
Fail
automate
fast.
it, and give him the tools to do it. Because then when it does get to Michael, it's all green and he can just release, right? That's where you want to get to. And if you're a DevOps purist, ServiceNow doesn't fit that model 100%, right? It doesn't play nicely with things like GitLab and so on. So in these big enterprise customers, you get into quite interesting conversations of, source code repositories, GitLab, whatever, versus update set models. And they're kind of like, what the hell are you guys doing? And then you kind of have to think about that. And that's where the customers are. How do we help them with those problems? And that's where we've got this, kind of crazy success, if you will, around making the platform owner's life better. That's ultimately what we do.
Ultimately, isn't that what Fred Luddy kind of set out to do? Giving the business users the power to solve problems they couldn't otherwise. I don't have that quote right, but anybody who does that kind of work, I think is going to find success.
Yeah.
Right?
No, absolutely. Well. And they're the heroes in the story, right? Whatever it is Michael goes and sells or wants to implement or whatever, goes back to the COE or the platform team. They're the people that have to do this, and they've already got a queue of work. And isn't it nice to have someone in technology who's got overwhelming demand? You don't get that in the Windows Server team.
No.
Just saying, sorry, Windows Server people or network people who might be listening.
I feel a little spoiled.
So when it comes to the ServiceNow admin teams, when they need a miracle to work faster and better, they call in the Pope. That's all I'll say.
Call me. You know how to find me.
So many
bad jokes. Well, that's really cool work in terms of what you're doing. And then for the partner side of it, I mean, how are you constantly working with the ServiceNow and accountings? Because obviously, you're not doing implementation, so your work's a bit different in terms of selling a product.
Do you know what? It's quite interesting. So about a year ago when I joined, we had a direct route that we would go to sellers, right? The actual AEs, the account owners themselves. But it gets quite interesting because when we don't bring sort of the traditional fulfillers onto the platform as part of what we do, I mean, let's call it what it is, right? These salespeople are coin operated. Sell license, get paid, right? Pope doesn't help me sell a license. I ain't getting paid. I'm not even getting out of bed, right? So you look at that and you go to the whole customer success side of the world, right? And Simon Short, there's a fireside chat on LinkedIn that Simon and I recorded a couple of weeks ago about this. And you start looking about what does success look like? And then this adoption backlog challenge. And you say, well, how do you make customers successful? So we've kind of gone that way, right? And it's got a lot of traction because the story I just told about platform owners and developers and freeing up that work, that's what unlocks the backlog. That gets adoption up. That gets usage up. And for your side, that's what protects your renewals and your upsells, right? So, which is it's a real problem, right? We all know what that is. But also then when you've got customers who are, maybe second cycle of renewal, whatever, maybe thinking about things overly customized, and they get on that fence where they're like, oh, upgrades are hard. Do we re-implement? Do we Z-boot? And you go, whoa, stop the bus, hang on. You made the decision you did at the time for a reason. That's okay. And maybe out of the box now is better than what it was. It probably is. That's okay, right? But let's look at the fundamentals and ways of working, because that might actually be the actual problem, the symptom rather than, or the problem rather than the symptom even. So it gets interesting there. And on Monday last week at Knowledge, we launched, so we're a big part of Simon's World, Customer Excellence Group and Impact. Impact at the moment, I think it's got 75 accelerators, which are like best practices, guidance, jumpstart your upgrade, implement HR, whatever, right?
Trying to get customers to move faster.
Yeah, we are the first Impact certified accelerator in the world as a partner, right?
What does that mean? Impact certified accelerator? Like does that mean you can help implement or sell the accelerators?
So the accelerators are all around, I've got a product, how do I go faster?
Right.
Get me from SP to ESC. I want to adopt AI search. How do I do that? But they even go down to the fundamentals, like around testing, around upgrade practices, pipeline management and those sort of things. So the one we were guided, so 70% of the requests for accelerators is to jumpstart your upgrade. It's the most popular one. Mm-hmm. So it was obvious for us to align to that. And it wasn't, get better at scheduling and cloning, and ServiceNow does all those things. I don't do those things, right? But it's looking at, right, well, how do you manage the process? What impacts the timeline? Manual testing, right? Lack of documentation. We've all been there, right? And humans doing manual work, right? And then you look at things like health scan, and that's your technical debt. Now, we don't necessarily help with that in the sense of you've written some crappy code or poor issues, right? It's actually, well, how did we get here? What's the developer doing in their cycle that we're not scanning code, we're not doing run books, we're not doing quality checks, whatever, right? And then you look at the COE model of how does the platform team actually work? Are they using SPM? Are they using Agile Dev? How does that flow come through, right? So we look at those things as sort of leading indicators. The lagging indicator is it takes you too long to upgrade. But if you fix those things at the front, they all start to feed through. So the accelerators are just really a library of best practices. So if you were to trigger one today, you get a phone call or an email or whatever, right? And you have a first session that's about 60 minutes, maybe 75 minutes, walk you through what it's about, how it helps, where it does it. And you go, yep, I want that. The next session happens where it's a bit more practical workshop driven. And we give you a set of recommendations, a roadmap, get healthy, those type of fun things. No commercials at this point at all.
Right.
Helping you be successful. If and then, which for us is important, you think, yep, AutomatePro is the answer for me. It goes through the normal store cycle of procuring a product, right? But it's not, the whole point is it's not a sales-driven activity. Right. It's a success and a customer-driven activity. They request it.
Like we're really going through it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And so, awesome. So being the first in the world to do that is enormous. Absolutely enormous.
That's awesome. I learned some new stuff about AutomatePro because I've seen AutomatePro stuff in the past years ago.
Yep.
And it looked great back then. But
yeah, it's getting better every release,
I'm sure.
bit by bit. Which is
everything gets better over time, it seems. Well, that's not true. Many things get better over time.
Don't go there. That was before we started recording.
Let me put it this way. People try to make things better.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
But
good.
Anyway, Chris, well, thank you for joining us at Star 42. Yeah. And once again, this has been Michael.
And Jace.
And Chris.
Thanks, man.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.